Onib Olmedo is acclaimed by critics as a major figurative expressionist of his generation. His paintings are characterized by an implosive impact. At the same time, they have an uplifting quality as they celebrate the triumph of the human spirit. He was born on July 7, 1937, and was christened Luis Claudio Veloso Olmedo. His nickname was Onib, the reverse of Bino, derived from Bambino after the legendary American baseball icon in the 30s, Babe Ruth, whom his father greatly admired. Onib grew up in what was then a quiet suburb of Manila during pre-war years, Sampaloc, which is now a bustling residential and commercial district. He was the fifth in a family of 10 siblings: Lito, Polong, Ceci, Jovi, Onib, Chibu, Patsy, Papoose, Mike, and the youngest, Jack. His father was Luis Olmedo Sr. from Manila. His mother was Lourdes Veloso from Leyte. After graduating with a BS degree in architecture at the Mapua Institute of Technology, he took the board exams and placed seventh. A few years later, after a couple of stints with architectural companies, he set up his own firm with his college friend, Manolo Evalle, as partner. As fate would have it, Evalle decided to migrate to the States for greener pastures, while Olmedo chose to stay in the Philippines. Soon after, tired of the rigid structuralism required in architecture, he shifted gears in his career path and ventured into art as a full-time profession. In 1967, he met and fell in love with Bettina Rodriguez, an advertising and public relations professional. They got married in 1969 and became the proud parents of two lovely and talented girls, Gisela, nicknamed Bambi, and Francesca Joanna, nicknamed Franjo. Bambi is married to Rev Araneta. They have a cute 4-year-old son, Sebastian or Basti, Onib Olmedo's first grandchild. Franjo is married to Dr. Vicente Arias III. They have a beautiful baby girl named Isabel, Onib Olmedo's second grandchild. When Olmedo ventured into the world of Philippine art in 1971, art collectors were confounded, shocked, deeply disturbed, and even horrified by his works. For Olmedo's art was a total departure from the happy paintings that Filipinos had been exposed to for over 3 decades. Despite the early triumph of the modernist movement in the Philippine art scene, the late 60s and early 70s were dominated by conventional paintings that depicted the bright and colorful facets of life in our country. Thus, when Olmedo made his artistic debut, the uninitiated found many of his works horrendous and even repugnant. This is because Olmedo espoused the tenets of figurative expressionism, which in the 60s and 70s did not have any appeal for Filipinos. His works were not beautiful when one gauged them in the terms of the classical standards of beauty. They were characterized by dark, somber, and depressing tones. In many of his paintings, Olmedo breaks all the rules, disregarding the traditional principles of composition, color, harmony, and form. The most salient feature of Olmedo's works is the expressionistic idiom of distortion. As art professor and critic Alice Guillermo explains, none of his works is picture pretty, as Olmedo strips down the layers of muscle and nerve to expose the soul, deliberately using distortion of the human features. Many of Olmedo's paintings zero in on the human face, with a man or woman staring at the viewer with ineffably sad eyes, which speak of their inner torment. Olmedo's career was launched with a series of paintings created in the 60s and exhibited in 1971 in an art show that revolved around the theme Singkong Suka, the Filipino term for 5 centavos worth of vinegar, which was then the retail price of the minimum amount of this household commodity at the smallest sari-sari stores. In this art exhibit, Olmedo created sour vinegar portraits of the denizens of Sampaloc. He used their faces as vehicles for his psychological probes and explorations of the soul of the common man. In subsequent art exhibits billed as 15 suka and 20 suka, meaning 15 and 20 centavos worth of vinegar, Olmedo further expounded on this theme. During this period, Olmedo's paintings were of specific people. his works containing props and personal effects that indicated his subject's social class, their occupation, and their circumstances in life. Among the most unforgettable characters he painted were people he met in his neighborhood in Sampaloc and his watering hole in Ermita. One of them is the Sampaguita girl. In many of his works, however, Olmedo comes up with more universal characterizations, focusing on the essence of the inner life of man, his inner demons, his fears, his anxieties, and his personal angst. Among his most critically acclaimed works are black and white ink wash paintings, portraying emaciated individuals with haunting skeletal faces and the dazed look of the demented. In the 80s and 90s, Olmedo expanded his artistic horizons, venturing into the portrayal of other subjects, including musicians, corporate executives, and ballerinas. His foray into the magical world of ballet was inspired by his two daughters' passion for this dance form. Olmedo also expanded his artistic palette, with his colors becoming brighter and more vibrant. Whatever his subject, however, there is still Onib Olmedo's signature trademark of distortion, unique composition, and multiple perspectives. In short, Olmedo remained consistent in his artistic vision. He adhered to the principles of expressionism, even when depicting such felicitous subjects as flowers, fruits, and other still lives. With his unique style and perceptive vision, Onib Olmedo had the satisfaction of earning international recognition for his work during his lifetime. Olmedo won two awards at the prestigious International Art Competition in Cagnes-sur-Mer, France in 1992, the very first Filipino to be accorded such a distinction. His award-winning works were two ink-wash paintings. The Apartment shows the interiors of a two-level shanty, depicting how Filipinos sublimate their grief through inner peace derived from their passion for their music and their deep, abiding faith. The other award-winning painting is entitled Concert in the Alley, part of Olmedo's New York series, which depicts the tension between a genuine appreciation of culture, exemplified by a person playing a violin on the fire escape of his New York flat, and modern society's obsession with life on the fast lane, symbolized by the motorcycles on the lower part of the painting. In the 90s, Olmedo's art came of age. He was catapulted into national prominence, with his art exhibits enjoying unprecedented success. The adulation exhibited by the public for Olmedo's work marked a new era in the history of Philippine art, when Filipino viewers had become more sophisticated and discerning in their taste for the finer things of life. They now understood the nuances of expressionist art, appreciating paintings for their cathartic value. Critics now assert that Olmedo has played a critical role in the history of Philippine art. At the summit of his career, he succeeded in raising the art consciousness of Filipinos to a level that went beyond the appreciation of paintings that were merely ornamental. Moreover, he continues to exert a vast influence on the young Filipino artists of the 21st century. Their works show that they have been inspired by their icon's worldview and his distinctive expressionistic style. Olmedo died in 1996, when he was only 59 years old. But he had already reached the apex of his career, earning not only critical acclaim, but also commercial success, with the public developing a genuine appreciation for his figurative and expressionist work. It is therefore indisputable that Onib Olmedo emerged as one of the major Filipino artists of the 20th century. Indeed, Onib Olmedo has left a lasting legacy for a whole new generation of Filipinos, leaving an indelible imprint on the history of Philippine art.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are so excited to have you all with us today. My name is Yana Garcia, and I will be your moderator for this afternoon. COVID 19 has brought about a very stressful year and a half for us all. The pandemic has not only affected us physically and economically, but also mentally and emotionally, as we have all gone through many hardships, individually, as a community, and as a country. This showcase of Onib Olmedo not only aims to highlight his works and his life, but also to discuss the themes behind his work, the mental health struggles of the everyday Filipino, and the triumph of the human spirit. We have an exciting lineup for today's event. We will start off with the virtual exhibit tour by Galleria Duemila. Following the virtual exhibition, we will hear from the esteemed Mr. Alfredo Roces, and then we will have a light art decompression session with Gang Badoy Capati, the lead trauma therapist of Project Steady Rock Ed Philippines. Before we close our event for today, we will have a Q&A session with Mr. Rosas and Ms. Capati alongside Sir Pandi Aviado, our honorable guest speaker from yesterday. So now, I am welcoming you to the virtual exhibition opening of Extrospective, Walks of Life Soul Portraits by Onib Olmedo. I think we might be having some technical difficulties right now. Sorry, would you give us a few minutes? Thank you.
Hello. While we're waiting for the technical side of this afternoon, I want to say good afternoon. I'm Gang. I was also with the exhibit yesterday. We have Pandi Aviado again here today. Hi, sir. Good afternoon. And of course, you will hear from the esteemed Alfredo Roces in a bit. But for now, I want to say that the flow of this afternoon is going to be so interesting because sawang-sawa na tayo sa word na pivot, but this is actually what it is. It's a great pivot of Galleria Duemila to keep producing and to keep giving access to people. So this is actually their first foray into an online virtual exhibit. So so we've been what's the word? We've been surprised and kind of blessed that it went smoothly yesterday. So Galleria Duemila will want to give you the good news that I think they are now super going to be accessible and available online. So this is our first event. So we are grateful that you're actually here on Zoom with us. You must be tired of Zoom by now, but this is going to be one of the different experiences you have. This is not just a meeting. This is actually an art experience. Natalie, you need to unmute so we can hear the sound. Thank you. just to keep everyone abreast, it says that Onib Olmedo's birth year is 1973, but actually it's 1937. But I think he'd enjoy that he's under 50 years old to this day. So I think he'll enjoy that error, that actually very minute error. It's just a mix-up of the two numbers. Pero imagine he's only 48. Isn't that gonna be fun? Isn't that fun? Imagining Onib at 48 again. So I think that error is pretty much his doing. So while we're waiting, hi Silvana, we're here again. Was I right in saying that just 3 days ago you were probably not very sure if we could do the online Galleria Duemila throwing out into the world? But now look at how much we have access. I think I saw someone from Sydney. I have a friend from Singapore who's actually in the room. And Galleria Duemila is now way more accessible pa. But nothing beats 3D, nothing beats real life. I still suggest, if you have the chance and you're vaccinated and you feel safe, do come and visit, because there's nothing like real life, you know? Is that right, Silvana? There's nothing like 3D.
Absolutely. Yeah,
This
you can
is
feel it.
this is the best adjustment we have for everybody. So there are pros and cons to the online thing, and like the technical. But while we're here, I think let's see, Natalie, are we having problem? Oh, these are gorgeous. Would we have a?
I think it's starting
I think
already.
she's good,
Okay.
yeah.
We're also going to include the link below so that you can see it at your own pace.
This is the worker. This is the worker of Olmedo. This is a beautiful nude that he made, very strong, the color and the chiaroscuro. That's a charcoal drawing. They're all of the same period, the 70s. These nude were done during the different sections of the nude of the Saturday group. This is Adele H. from the famous book of the daughter of Victor Hugo. This is the piano teacher in black and white. I chose few portraits, few paintings, so it will be really quite strong impact in the visualization of the expression of the different subjects.
Again, our apologies for the technical difficulties at the start, but if you would like to explore the virtual exhibition again, the link is posted below on the chat box. I think it's right there. Natalie put it up already. Additionally, all the works are for sale. You may send a message or your inquiries to the email addresses below. And a portion of the proceeds from the show will support mental health programs of Project Study for Filipinos who can't afford therapy. So our first speaker for today is the esteemed Alfredo Roces. Mr. Roces holds a prominent place in the history of Philippine art. He is an author, essayist, dramatist, and national artist of the Philippines for literature. He also served as the Secretary of Education during the term of Philippine President Diosdado Macapagal. He is a painter who began with a figurative style, but soon branched out into expressionism, Fauvism, and impressionism in his work. And he was also a good friend of our artist, Mr. Onib Olmedo. Without further ado, I give the floor to Mr. Roces. Okay, there we go. Hi, Mr. Roces, we can hear you.
Oh, fine, very well. May I just make a slight correction? Uh, I'm being confused with my brother, Alejandro Roces, who was the Secretary of Education. I'm just a writer and a painter. So may I say now, good afternoon, friends of Onib. Thank you for joining us in this tribute to a friend and remarkable artist. Let me begin with a sketch of the artist and his works. The portraits never smile calmly and pleasantly at you. All you see are agitated faces, anxious, disturbed, emotional. The first time you chance upon one, you ask yourself, who is this distressed person looking at me? But after you have seen a collection of them, your question turns to, who is this artist who paints such highly emotional, somewhat gruesome portraits? Luis Veloso Olmedo was named after his father, who then lovingly gave him the affectionate nickname Bambino, the Italian name for baby boy. As always happens in Filipino culture, Bambino was soon shortened to Bino. Later on, in our era, when reversing words became the grooving mode among Filipinos, Bino metamorphosed into Onib. This evolution of his name from Luis to Olmedo is also the story of his professional life. Having originally graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Architecture from Mapua Institute of Technology and then placed seventh in the government examination for architects in 1961, Luis Bambino, by then called Bino, was a state practicing architect as well as a steward at the San Lazaro racetrack. In 1968, a fellow architect returning from a sojourn in the US, gave him a pasalubong of oil tube paints and brushes, and overnight, only the artist emerged. You could also read in the evolution of his name his approach to painting. Only treats art in the most unusual, personal, zany manner, somewhat like the way his family and his friends had transformed his name from Luis to Onib. If I remember correctly, it was Tiny Nuida who introduced Onib to our Saturday group. At that time, I was a daily columnist writing about everything, including arts and culture. And H.R. Ocampo, Tony Quintos, Enrique Velasco, Tiny Nuida, Ben Cab, and I had started the Saturday group at Casa de Oro so that artists could interact and work together through sketching sessions with a nude model. Onib was also among a few who joined our sandlot basketball games in my parents' home in Pasay. He was a good basketball player. It was also Onib who, at my request, personally escorted me to Smoky Mountain so I could take photos of the destitute scavengers there. I don't have to tell you the Les Miserables inhabitants of Smoky Mountain were just the type of characters Onib liked to paint. What is it about Onib painting that is fascinating? Allow me to talk about the portraits of Onib by referring to his portrait of yours truly. I did not pose for this pastel portrait. I was totally unaware I was sketching away at a nude pastel model, and after the session, Onib surprised me with this opus. I cannot say I was flattered, but I certainly found it good painting in color and composition, and an interesting take on a person whom I had got to know all my life. Onib's portrait shows me with one eye looking up, the other eye looking away down with the lid closed. My eyeglasses are somewhat askew, and my mouth is partially open and slanted. Onib was sketching me while I was drawing a human figure who was posing for us. I guess he was watching me glancing at the model 1 second, and then in the next second putting down what I had observed into a line gesture. Definitely, I use both eyes in this action, never one eye at a time. But I guess he was jotting down in one image my act of sketching. The tinted glasses and the mouth reveal the tension and the activity going on inside me as I work. The background and portions of the facial forms emphasize anxiety, excitement, and movement, as well as an inner turmoil. I ask myself, did only manage to capture the excitement and the inner struggle I was undergoing while sketching? Or was he, in effect, simply coloring the image with his own psychological attitude towards his subject, me, and his own emotional feelings about me and his act of painting? There are no straightforward answers. Moreover, one must also take into a third element of a work of art, and that is the viewer. You, as viewer, have an input, be it emotional or objective, in what confronts you. Gaze at this portrait. What do you see? How much of what you see is the subject, me, and how much the artist's own input, and how much your own reaction? These three elements form the essence of visual art, certainly of the portraits of Onib. There is a bit of guile or a touch of needling the subject and the viewer in Onib, which surfaces in his paintings. Onib very clearly sensed this himself when he entitled his first one-man show, Singkong Suka, and followed this with a second show, Kinseng Suka, and finally, Beinteng Suka, marking the inflation in the cost of living at the time. A touch of vinegar, a twinge of humor, and a gentle bite. Back in the 80s, his young daughter, Bambi, had summarized up for all of us the Onib art style when she asked her artist father in all innocence, "Daddy, bakit ang galing mong gumawa ng pangit?" A unique artist, Onib had made what we regard as life's ugly side his inspiration and his theme. Tears, anguish, pain, torment, evil, fear, anxiety, suspicion. Are they not all part of a human being's day-to-day life? And is the artist not supposed to reflect life in his works? And do we not appreciate and relish sad songs, plays, and movies about tragedy? As that pop song goes, I beg your pardon. I never promised you a rose garden. Mabuhay ka, Onib. May kamay, may utak, may puso. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was on mute. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Roces. Thank you for sharing with us. Our second speaker for this afternoon is Badoy Capati. Ms. Capati is a staunch advocate for the youth volunteerism movement through Rock Ed Philippines, where she is also a prime organizer of disaster relief operations. She actively supports the Mindanao Peace Games, a league that encourages young girls to engage in sports. She is a mental fitness coach for national athletes under the POC Athletes Commission. Under RockEd, she spearheaded Project Steady, a web-wide mental health initiative focused on creative arts therapy for young adults. Ms. Capati believes that peace and progress are impossible if a nation doesn't prioritize the mental wellness of its citizens and leaders. Additionally, Ms. Gang is a proud art history graduate from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. So without further ado, I give the floor to Ms. Gang.
Hello, I wasn't just an art history major. I was also an intern for Silvana when I was 19. so, so here we are. I don't imagine that all of you were here yesterday, but I'll go ahead and introduce myself. But before I do that, I'm going to say, Sir Alfredo Roces, you are just as esteemed, and I know exactly what it feels like na mapagkamalang kapatid ko. So that's a common human experience here in the Philippines. It's really amazing how because I read you a lot, sir, and it was such an experience to hear you read your writing. Silvana, I could see your face the whole time, and I don't know if you understand how I'm feeling because I constantly read Sir Alfredo Roces, and to actually have it on audio was just quite an experience for me. So this afternoon, just to let you know, my training as a psychotherapist began in the maximum security prison in 2007, and I stayed for 9 years and 11 months. So, okay, mag-alala, kayang-kaya ko kayo today kasi para tayo lahat inmate ng coronavirus. So, this will be really quick and really light so we can get to the meat of the Q&A. But I want everybody to have a 101 on anxiety. So I need you to know what anxiety is. Is the slide okay, Yana? I just wanted to make sure.
Yes, the slide is okay.
And my audio is good?
Yes.
Yay! Okay, sige. Yan, kasama yan sa online. So, okay, you will asking, ano ba yung anxiety? Alam mo sa Filipino, wala kasi tayo gaanong vocabulary on mental health. It's really either, I mean, for a long time, it was something that we are still, by the way, very uncomfortable to discuss it. Either you're summa cum laude or you're taong grasa. Parang there's nothing in between. But what I need all of us to understand is that we are, there's such a whole continuum. It's a whole line. It's not lang you're super happy or you're buang. No, it's not like that at all. So what I want us to learn today is a little bit, let's stretch a bit our knowledge on anxiety. I'm quite sure many of you know this already and you probably experienced it yourself. Maybe you were officially diagnosed, or maybe you Google it a lot. I'm not sure, but let's at least all get to the same page today in the light of the extrospective of Onib Olmedo. So anxiety is actually a feeling. Ito yung nervyos. Do you know the feeling of being at the edge of a cliff? Or have you ever walked sa like glass tiles? You know how they have those ledges around buildings that are glass under, and meron ka talagang nervyos, even if you know you are safe. I mean, even if, or maybe part of you is saying, naku, ang liit ng bridge, I might fall. This doesn't seem solid. Or is the structural integrity of this that I'm standing on fine? And then you feel nerves, So it's really nervyos. It's a feeling. But if you think about it, if it's a reflex of your brain to feel nervous when you're at the edge of the cliff or a high balcony, and then you tend to grip more, Why? Kasi you want to stay safe, which means your anxiety is actually very protective of you. It's your fire alarm. It says, uy, 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 we're feeling nervous. Hold on tighter. Stay more balanced. Do not fall. Walk carefully. Keep your eyes open. So if you think about it, anxiety is your brain's natural fire alarm. So it says to you, hey, be careful. So it's a reflex of our brain to stimuli. Okay, stimuli is something that causes. So stimuli is something you either see or smell or perceive by your senses. So I guess see, smell, touch, sense. So it's a reflex of our brain. Let me give you an example of a stimuli. If you're running down the stairs and all these dogs are staring up at you, and if you are like me, I love French bulldogs, I'll be squealing with joy and parang, oh my gosh, ang ganda ng dog, ang dami. But if you are afraid of dogs, and if you had a past trauma where a dog bit you, this is probably not a happy stimuli for you. You'll probably freeze and be afraid, or etc. Which, lesson number one, I think everyone can face the same stimuli and we will all have different reactions. Some of you probably, when you heard of the coronavirus, maybe lost sleep. Some are probably very worried on the financial situation. Some are probably very angry at, I don't know, the helplessness of non-travel, and many of us seek comfort in travel. A lot of us probably were so tense about how the government will handle it. So from the same stimuli, we all have, if there are if there are 120 million Filipinos, there are 120 million reactions to the coronavirus. So it's very, very custom made really for you. Why? Because you bring with it everything you have, even your childhood, your memories you've even forgotten, things that you relate to, things. In fact, I think when I talk to a few people after, because I'm a psychotherapist, so I accompany some people through their anxiety of the pandemic. One of them would say, I actually like the pandemic because I'm socially anxious and I can wear a mask when I go outside. So it's really, it's as varied as it comes. So I really, na-appreciate ko talaga yung art and getting to know Onib Olmedo through his good friends yesterday. And again, we will do that today. Because if you look at Onib Olmedo's work, immediately you think he's a miserable man. And I was so delighted when I heard that he's actually funny. He writes limericks on sago and gulaman and etc. And how wonderful na the stimuli and the response and the effect is different. So I think one of the advices as a I don't think I have a blanket advice for anxiety today, but I will tell you that it might help to befriend it. Meaning, when you feel it, it's not automatically bad. You cannot say, oh no, this is a bad feeling. You'll immediately say, oh no, this is a fire alarm. It's warning me to be safe about something. It's warning me and telling me to be more careful. So befriend it. But how do you befriend people? How do we befriend things or concepts? Well, I guess like a person, you spend time with it. you you really feel it. Don't deny it immediately. But we're so good at it. But I'll take questions later if you have. But let me go ahead and proceed. So spend time, get to know it, and you will find out that anxiety is actually natural. Everybody has it because these are signals in your brain that say, oh, there's fire. I must stay safe. Oh, binabaha. Oh, may kulog at kidlat. I should bring a jacket. So, do you know that itong nervyos na to, itong anxiety na to, it's the same feeling that makes you buy health insurance. It's the same feeling that makes you bring that extra payong, bring the extra t-shirt, save up, or buy life insurance or something. So, it's very helpful, I believe, to view anxiety as a protective instinct. Don't get trapped in your initial view of it. The way I suggest that people who first encounter, if this is your first encounter with an Olmedo, do not get trapped in the singularity of, oh, it's a very sad painting, it's so dark. he must be a sad man. Well, I need to tell you that I always say this even yesterday. A mentally well person is not the person who is always happy. 24/7, 365. If you're happy, I suggest you go for a checkup because you might be terribly buang if you're happy at 24/7, 365. Either that or you can run for president. I'm kidding. So here we are. I need you to know the difference between garden variety anxiety and disordered. When disordered anxiety is this, when you already know in your logic that you are safe, but you still feel you are in danger. For example, this is where phobias come in. For example, I have a client, he's very afraid of, alam mo yung what do you call that? The part of the aircon that's outside the house. Ano ba tawag doon? Yung split, yung nasa labas. And parang radiators. He's so afraid. I don't know. Well, maybe because it emits heat and maybe it reminds him of the rear of a building where something horrible happened. I haven't dug in. It's just that when he sees the, what do you call that? When he sees that tawag ng conditioner ng aircon sa labas, kinakabahan talaga siya. Yung totoong kaba, yung
Compressor.
sorry?
Compressor.
Oh, thank you. The compressor that's outside the building. Yung nervyos niya when he sees the compressor of the aircon is clammy hands, cold sweat behind his neck. And you're really gonna say, that's really weird. It's just an aircon compressor. But human beings and our brains and our nervous systems were so complex, just like Onib Olmedo, that there are some things that we don't remember why it scares us. So there are many possibilities. As we dug deeper, it turns out he got what's the word, fractured behind a building pala when he was young, and his memory was the compressor of the aircon very hot on his face. So when he sees it, he still feels afraid. Now, why is it disordered? Because the compressor of the aircon cannot hurt you. I mean, it's an inanimate object. It's not a lion growling. Why are you reacting this way? So that's disordered. So it's also disordered when it interferes your ability to function. And I'm not talking about sipag on projects or emails or responding. By function, I really mean ligo, tulog, toothbrush, kain, yung mga very, very basic. If you have these two, when you feel I'm in danger, I'm in danger, I'm in danger, even when you're actually logically, factually safe, you might want to go for a checkup and see where that's from so you can start healing. So it's not a life sentence if you have anxiety. It's actually a roadmap. So you know where to start, how to start healing. And a lot of things can help us. If you're looking at the picture now, I love the singkong suka and the benteng suka. I super love that object because it's the asim. If you're looking at the picture of this calamansi, I'm quite sure either naglalaway ka na or you can imagine how the calamansi tastes like, because super familiar tayo sa calamansi, yung maasim, which means something that you're just seeing, just your eyes, can make your salivary glands react. Naglalaway ka halos. I mean, even if you're not, you have a memory of the taste of calamansi. That's how closely intertwined our senses are and our emotions. Nakikita mo lang yung picture right now and you're already feeling the asim, or at least perceiving the asim. So you cannot separate the body, the senses with your emotions. And I think this is one thing that I think Onib Almedo knew. He knew it by instinct. He's such an empath. I heard from his friends. So he's probably very intertwined with his feelings. So let's, I want to show you this installation art by a German artist. And I want you to keep, just watch it. And when I won't let you do the exercise. It's fine. You're not children. But I love doing this to my art therapy students. When they're looking at it, malalaman mo yung level of nervyos ng tao kasi you're thinking, babangga ba siya? At pag bumangga, mahuhulog ba? Made of ano yan? Semento ba yan? Okay, so one hand lang pala yung umiilalim. Okay, sige, I get it. Is it motorized? Is it gravity? What if it goes off time? Will it go crashing into the river? So it's actually this is a very anxiety-inducing installation art, environmental art outside, assemblage. So what I need you to try, I'm going to show it to you again. In the next slide, when I show it to you again, while you're looking at the sculpture, I need you to inhale 4 counts. And then exhale 8 counts, like super slowly. Okay, let's try it all together. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. Do it again. Somehow the 1,000 questions you had earlier for the sculpture isn't coming up because you're so focused on your brain, on your breathing. And now you're like a little calmer because you're breathing. So I give you more advice, of course, but the breath is something we have wherever we go. Other children or religious women, religious women will always have like a rosary or a scapular, and it's a testament of faith, and it makes them feel safe, less anxious. So that's called a transition object to make you feel safe. Athletes sometimes have that. They wear their favorite shorts, their favorite medyas. Children have teddy bears that they bring everywhere. And you know, when you leave the teddy bear, you're going to have to pick up that doll or the teddy bear if they leave it. That's because they're holding on to something to make them feel secure or to remind them that they're safe. But we don't always have the chance to have these things, but we always have our breath. So why did I say inhale for 4 and exhale for 8? Because if you know your pulmonary system and your nervous system, it is the long exhale that will calm you. I'm going to say it again. It's the long exhale that will calm you down. The inhale makes you vuelo, to be brave or to fight. The exhale is that long exhale. That's the one that calms your nervous system down. Like force it. If you're really in a panic attack, you can, and it will. So one of the exercises I want us to do is, I know your videos are covered now, but I'm going to stop this for a bit. Fake a smile, like, you know, when you're in kindergarten, smile, and then you fake a smile. I mean, yung mga batang na ganun lang, na alam mong fake yung smile. Somehow, when you fake a smile, either matatawa ka sa sarili mo right after, or mawiweirdan ka kasi parang, why am I smiling? Or do you know why? Can I tell you why this is so fascinating? We have striated nerves, meaning stripes, striated nerves on our cheeks. We really do. It's science. And when you move it into position of a smile, your cheek muscles and those nerves say, "Teka lang, why am I moving this way? Am I happy?" So really what's happening, and at the very least is, yung matatawa ka sa sarili mo kasi mukha kang tanga, but it's fine. Because what's happening is you're sending a signal to your brain that you're smiling. So I know you're not happy, right? I know you don't feel like smiling right now, but if you do it, you know, seriously, you're really sending a signal to your brain that you're okay. And most of the time, because I said emotions and the body are so intertwined, you really need to send signals to your brain. Does that work? Does it understand for you? Say the other one naman is, you know, the dance of YMCA, yung YMCA. When you put your hands up, Y, like, Marco, could you please do that so that we're together in this mukhang tanga moment? There, that is the primordial position of joy. And can I tell you why? And when your hands are up, automatic nagsisend ng signal na you're happy and safe. It's very hard to get annoyed at Harry Roque while you're like this, really, because it's really hard. Kasi, so you must watch TV like this. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. You know, can I tell you why? On a biological level, I'm so excited. Can you see? This is like my favorite topic. Your front part, the front part of your body, is called the ventral. You don't need to know this, but the back is dorsal, like dorsal fin of the shark. When you expose your front, like when dogs, you know, lie down and cats lie down and they want you to scratch their chin, that means they're in a state of mind that's, I'm super duper safe. I'm safe. Because you're exposing your internal organs, ang nipis ng skin mo eh. But if you're afraid, what do? Kuba, fetal position, hide, right? Kasi mas matibay yung likod mo. So that's a defensive position. Okay. And when you don't even know this, but body language is so almost universal, regardless of culture. If while you're talking to someone, they turn around and walk away, how do you feel? Aba, putang ina nito. Diba? Kasi, you know why? Because tinalikuran ka, but actually, that talikod is more, I'm defending myself from you. I'm showing you my back. Instead of when lovers are in love or, you know, feeling safe, they really face each other and they hug, you know. So you must send a signal to your brain every now and then that you're safe. So when you stretch your arms, it's quite the opposite of the fetal position. So that's why when you wake up, it's really healthy to lokoy mo na sarili mo kasi ang hirap ng pandemic eh. Pag, pag unang gising mo, kahit against your will, just purposely do it. Fake a smile, and then yawn like this. And then, alam mo, dalawa lang yun. Either you'll feel a little better because there's really signals to your brain, the hormones will really be sent up even against your will. Or matatawa ka sa sarili mo kasi mukha kang tanga that you're faking a smile. And how bad is that? How bad is it to start a day laughing at yourself? So it really always helpful. So let me show the last slide again. Please send a signal to your brain that you're okay. Let me give you another example of sending signals to your brain. You know how some Filipinos, not some, most of us, our default is really sorry. Ay, sorry ang iksi ng email. Sorry ngayon ko lang na-send. Sorry na late ako. Sorry, underdressed yata ako. Always sorry, always sorry. I want you to like observe yourself. Whenever you say sorry, you are sending a signal to your brain that you did something wrong. Right? Because sorry is an acknowledgement of I'm wrong, forgive me. So try this. Instead of saying sorry, kasi I'm a sorry person. Like Onib, I'm one of 10 children, except I'm not number 5, I'm number 10. So I'm Miss Sorry. Like I apologize for everything. Like I always, when I was a kid, I would, if I could apologize for sharing oxygen, I would. But as I got older, I realized, why am I always saying sorry? You know, I own this space and I'm okay. And as you can tell, I've had trauma. That's why I'm a trauma therapist. You know, if you grow up in a family of 10 and you're number 10, you are sure to have trauma in any form. Especially if a half sister becomes so famous. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not kidding actually. So what happens? What happens is what I replaced sorry with is ako ba yon? Okay, meaning I'm not arrogant. It's not my fault. It's a natural progression from sorry to was that me? Did I cause this? For example, something falls in the kitchen, bish, nabasag. Immediately we're like, sorry, ako ba yun? Sorry, right? But if you hear something fall, you should say, ako ba yun? And then they can say, no, that wasn't you. It was the cat, or no, it was the dog. And then you say, okay. So that tipid na tipid yung sorry mo. You only apologize for things that are really, that you should apologize for. Because I have a feeling you keep sending signals to your brain. You keep sending to your signals to your brain that you're doing something wrong. Kaya ang hirap ng self-esteem ng sorry kasi feeling mo, I'm not worth it, or I'm super a loser kasi ang dami mong ano. So anyway, that's a really, really quick overview of what anxiety is. Hopefully you picked up something. If you want more of these exercises, we hold these sessions for free. And anyone can log in. It's actually created initially for all the athletes who are leaving for Tokyo, but I decided to open 2 more sessions for free to the public. So a lot of call center people join us, a lot of anxious mothers and etc. But mostly, I think mostly people who are still not sure about therapy or who can't afford, and that's fine. So these are open. It's also good practice for me because yun naman ang term, di ba? Kahit sa lawyer practice. So yeah, so I'm practicing. So that's an overview of anxiety. Hopefully you picked something up and it's not as complex as you think it is. And yes, always breathe. I have a feeling if you get to know Onib Olmedo through this extrospective, a part of you will say, oh yeah, we are everything. And I say this again, a mentally well person feels everything. Despair, dire, disgust, takot, nervyos, we feel all that. You can't be happy all the time. That's not healthy. But what we can do is regulate. You can really calm down, or you can excite, or you can nap. You know, these are very many natural things. But please remember, your body language is, you cannot seek mental wellness na hindi kasali yung body. Kailangan kasama yung body. You either walk or you stand every now and then, circulate, because if you think about it, mental wellness is really just managing your oxygen. And so is life, by the way, in general. Manage your oxygen. Breathe a little deeper, breathe a little slower as best you can. There's something about us that, you know why? Because if your breathing is shallow, that's you're in a defense mode. You're ready to fight at any point, and that's what kills you. That's constant cortisol, constant adrenaline. So exhale long whenever you remember. Why? Because when you exhale long, walang choice yung lungs mo except to inhale kasi wala nang space, right? ubus na eh. Remind ka rin mag-inhale. Oo. Pero as a matter of fact, when you inhale sharply, that means you're buelo. And when you exhale, that's relax. That's relaxed. It's really relaxed. Okay? So I hope you enjoy the rest of the afternoon. We will take questions now. I think Silvana, Sir Pandy will join us on the floor, and Sir Alfredo Roces, of course, just as esteemed as all other Roceses I know. I know so many Roces. My next door neighbor growing up is actually a Roces. So I think you're related to them. Sila Marcos Roces. So yeah, thank you. I hope that was something. I hope you picked something up.
Thank you very much.
So at this time, we'll open the floor for Q&A portion. If there are any questions that you would like to ask, kindly type your question on the chat box or unmute yourself or raise your hand and we can help you unmute as well. So to begin, Galleria Duemila and Project Study actually have an opening question for Sir Alfredo and Sir Pandy and Ms. Silvana as well, if you'd like to answer. So how would Onib approach people and get them to open up so quickly, since you all had a very personal relationship with him?
Well, I will start. Onib was extremely very friendly. Like when we were in, let us say not Casa de Oro, but we were in Pensione Malate. We will sit down in the table and there were a lot of backpackers coming in. And also when he was by himself, he will draw. Let us say sitting by himself, he will draw. And he will look at the people coming in, strolling in. And then somebody always will say, oh, can I see you're a painter, you're a drawer, can I see your painting? And that was the opening salvo. And so from there, Oni will ask several questions. And many times, if you see, there are two small portraits that are all foreigner in the exhibit. These are two portraits that Oni did of some backpacker that were really in, that will go there in Pensione Malate.
Because
But,
isn't the Pensione in Malate the former where Peace Corps people would stay? Isn't that right?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay. Wow, that's awesome.
Onib was an extremely coffee drinker. I was there also with Tiny Nuida. There were always people, it was always full of, as they say, people, not only backpacker, but also people, student, that or professor, different kind, who has money, who has no money. So who has little money. And so many times Onib will have them pose for him. Also boyfriend, girlfriend. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I
That's
think I think one of the most startling things for two people who joined yesterday who are never in any art event, they said, I never imagined that somebody who paints this way is funny. Is a funny man.
it's
So
a
I
super.
thought just that knowledge alone expands the view of a Filipino on artists, no?
But you know, we know also that clowns are very funny, and yet we know very well that clowns are also very observant and they mimic a certain kind of sadness.
That's
They
true.
are themselves. They are themselves people that are many times introverts. There are the two sides. Not that Tony Olmedo was an introvert. I don't think so. You know, he opens up very. He has an easy way, but he was also silent.
Yes. So let's see.
Dean, what do you think? Pandy.
I'm not a kiss and tell guy, you know. Sorry.
Not a kiss and tell guy.
I have
Well,
Out
you
of
just
omerta.
answered the question, Sir Pandy.
Di omerta ko. I refuse to answer that on the grounds of it might incriminate me in the end. So Ding is fantastic, Ding. The way you were able to describe him, he appeared in front of me. Fíjate.
I think he's somebody that we both knew very well. And I think that there is a slight difference between Pandy the person and Pandy and his art.
Is that a feedback?
Yes.
Was there a feedback?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But I think it's gone now.
Yeah, there's a technical glitch because of Mercury retrograde.
There's something about that sends out vibes.
Onib. Ay,
Wow.
We have some questions. Sir Pandy, I like your question. Yung parang,
Yeah.
is there feng shui about people?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Yeah, with sad people.
What's the profile of a guy who likes to buy his paintings?
Patty, only now.
Are they
that
also, do they also feel the angst?
a lot of
I never
lot
bought
of-
one of his paintings, so I would
a
like
lot
to
of
know
young- we have some collectors,
who
young
returned.
couple, who will buy the painting, bring it
return it.
home, and then the parents look at the painting and absolutely say, return it,
Return it.
Yeah, I bring. But this is only happening now. Now that the feng shui is becoming like a something that everybody believes in. We never had this before. Not at the time of Onib. You know, the feng shui did not exist before. And it's
But-
crazy.
Yeah, because you wonder waking up in the morning and looking at one of his works like that, and
Well,
say,
this I love it. You know,
But-
I look at her and I'm so happy. I feel she's so beautiful. So, you know, the eyes, the expression. So
You know,
I don't believe in feng shui at all. So,
yeah.
but my client,
No, but I'm asking this for everybody. I mean, not just for us.
yes,
okay.
yes,
I have a contribution on the mental health plane. Okay lang? May I?
Okay, sure.
Okay. You used the word, Sir Ding, earlier. For the uninitiated, Onib's paintings look like they're dark and sad, and that's it. So I like the word uninitiated eye. So because in mental health, the untrained eye will also think if someone is laughing and funny, they're not depressed. Because we think depressed is sad. But do you know that when a teenager is partying all the time, very loud, there's a high chance they are depressed? Which means depression does not show itself in the obvious form all the time. In fact, if pag may bagong break, tapos actually sobrang lungkot, yan yung time na magpa-party, the date para makalimot sa heartbreak. Pero on the surface, it looks like they're having the time of their lives, right? So depression, sadness, it comes out in a different form. Sometimes it's people who get all of a sudden gym crazy and they're all of a sudden so payat. And so, because it's not humans are not cut and dried. We're not linear at all. So for the uninitiated, if they say, oh, I don't want an Onib Olmedo on my wall because I might get sad, that's really uninitiated, because I am sure you have experienced being very sad in a happy place or in a party, and that just makes you feel worse, right? So sometimes it's actually comforting to see those who are in despair and the beauty of the strokes of Onib Olmedo, regardless of what's dark, rather than see the painting of daffodils and a meadow and you're actually sad. Parang it's mocking you pa. Kasi parang ang saya-saya ng lahat, tas ang lungkot-lungkot ko. So I think the pulse of an Onib Olmedo is different from other paintings, I think, from other artists, because It tells you, hey, this is part of it, right? Alfredo Roces is very handsome in this portrait, by the way. This is part of life. It's not always roses. It's not always santan and kalachuchi. But look, you're alive and you're breathing and you're fine. Others like Adele, is that right? It was diagnosed schizophrenic, I understand, and he painted a portrait of her to show the distortion. Because guess what? Even the statistically normal person has distortion. Let me give you an example of a distortion, Sir Pandy. If you walk into the restaurant, if you walk into the restaurant and there's a whole table of your friends and they're laughing and they all of a sudden turn quiet when you walk in, you'll immediately think they're probably talking about me. Or if you're talking to someone and they look at their watch, you're thinking, I think she's bored. Does she want to leave? So my general distortions tayo, but there are 100 other explanations for why they stopped laughing. And there may be other explanations for why they looked at their watch. Baka nagandahan lang, I don't know, baka bago yung watch. But our minds distort things based on our insecurity, our self-esteem. So I think Onib captured that. I think he had a different pulse of things. I'm so fascinated at how he had such a pulse on the dichotomy or the blend or the complexness of a human. Parang ganun. So I don't know if that made sense to you, Sir Pandy, but I don't know what the profile is of Ubay and Olmedo and if it's feng shui, but for me, I think it's beautiful. I think Onib Olmedo's paintings are beautiful and they will remind me that the world is complex and I'm okay and I'll be okay. I actually find it comforting to see his paintings.
Because you're the initiated.
Maybe.
Yeah.
If you're uninitiated, you'd rather want things obvious, like the very, very spelled out obvious. And eventually, you'll know, like everything is complex. Sir Alfredo Roces, is there another question for him? Yana? I think there was a question sent for Sir Roces.
Let me.
Let's see. May I have a question? But a couple of times, and I know I've been celebrating how he's such a funny man despite his dark paintings. I know I keep looking at that aspect. But somebody mentioned he also had melancholy. Is that right? Like there was also a sadness about Onib that that's palpable and it came out. Like, did you witness this, Sir Pandy or Sir Ding? Did you ever see him sad, or at least pensive or tense? Silvana, you're nodding, so maybe you've seen him worried. I just want to know.
Ding.
I only remember him as somebody who is kalog.
Oh,
Crazy. It's cool. And I'll just put it like that,
that's so cool though, kasi
That's,
I
let's
don't.
talk, less mistake.
Sir Pandy, I don't think you can be. I think people who paint their license plates dahil kinonfiscate ng police, you have to be cool to do that, right? You have to be kalog.
I'm sure he did a lot more things than that, really. So I suppose I'll just keep quiet. Meanwhile,
Sir Ding, do you want to add something?
Well, I think basically he was a quiet, happy person. He was very witty, but he was mostly quiet and gentle. But you can see that inside him there was that certain what we would call pidio. He liked to tease people or to provoke. And so I think he used all that as his outlet in his paintings. So as a person, he was very nice because he was able to put out all his bile in his paintings. That's how I see him. Because I look at his paintings and I look at him and I say, well, I don't see those paintings in Onib.
Wow, that's so interesting.
It was his way of getting out, because when I look at a painting that has the anguish and the sorrow, I relate to it only because I experienced that. And I say, well, this fellow has been able to do what I've always wanted to do, which is get this out of my system
Yeah.
and hate this pain. So I think he was able to disguise his troubles when you see him as a person. I play basketball with him. And in basketball, you get to learn somebody. Because if he likes to cheat, you can see it. If he gets angry or he gets rough and play and breaks the rules, or is a poor loser, you know right away when you play. And he was always a good, clean player. So he's never somebody with a grudge, never somebody who tried to outsmart you or out. He was always just that quiet, good, decent person.
Wow.
I think he was
Pandy, what
able.
are you showing? Sir Pandy, what is that you're showing us? That's
It,
wonderful.
it's an etching of Onib. And look, it almost looked like Ding. Looks like Ding, huh?
It does.
See what
I
what
have,
a coincidence, huh?
I have more hair than that.
That's so interesting. We have other questions and comments. I'm just going to read through them, okay? Miss Babette, hi. Babette Lalarga says, our first art purchase was in 1979 at the Heritage Art Center, original location in San Juan. It was an Onib nude pastel. Tama ba? Pastel on paper. Odette Alcantara approved of our choice. We liked the artists even if we hadn't met him yet because his approach was deep, malalim. We, my husband and I, aren't into superficial pretty stuff. Later, my husband Rolly Fernandez brought more works through his wife Bettina until he and Onib met at their house in Metrica Street, Sampaloc. Onib was so pleased that Rolly would go through his sketch pads and choose and buy drawings, sometimes by installment. Oh, how cute. Some of the works have been donated to the UP Dangal ng Museum in Diliman. How wonderful. I think there's another one, something about Hoya of the Philippines. Would you compare Onib to being the Hoya of the Philippines, showing the trouble and pain, the expressions of everyday people? No, I think Hoya is the Olmedo of Spain. Okay.
No comparison.
There really was a melancholy side to him, E.B. Kosho says, Avellana Kosho says, which not everyone saw. He was very deep and extremely intelligent. He was an empath. I don't think a non-empath can produce works like he does. I think, yeah, you're right, Evie. He must be something else. I wish I met him. There's another question coming in. We would like to open the floor. Yana, maybe you can unspotlight us and have everybody on gallery view so we can have others who would like to share their insight and be heard. So make your view into side-by-side gallery, please. The upper right hand of your screen has those squares so that we can hear others. Is there anyone with an insight you'd like to share that you picked up today or a question? Oh, Barbara, you just fixed your hair. I thought you raised your hand. Okay, Silvana or Romina. Is Miss Bettina here? Oh, yes, you're here. Miss Bettina, kindly turn on your video if you're there.
We can see that. Can you see us?
Yes. Well, not yet, but
It's me and my daughter, Bambi.
oh, hi, Bambi.
Hi. Hi, guys.
Hello. Super honored that you're here. Romina, would you like to ask questions of Bettina and Miss Bettina and Bambi so that it's more kasi I'm such a fan. Baka nervous na ako magtanong.
Well, I know Tito Onib when how I remember him was a very happy person, and but now that I'm older and like when I see things, like I see his work and I see how he painted, I also do art, so I think what it is also is that everybody that sees reality is melancholy, but then if their characters are happy, I think, you know, they immediately take that and try to express the pain, but then at the same time they don't have to keep it inside them. I guess that's why you express it, diba? I mean, I'm sure as a father, like my dad paints very zen things, and he's pretty zen, but I'm sure he has his own inner torment, but he doesn't show anybody about it,
Well,
you know.
that's true. That's true.
I think
Yeah.
and father painters are like that. They paint so
So,
that their
Romina,
children
your
see
question
beauty.
is if if we see some inner torments with my father,
No, I think every
Sometimes.
painter has an inner
it's
torment.
Romina. Oh, yes. So that's
I,
what's the question?
no, it was a comparison of
Oh, it was a
of
comparison.
yeah. So
Oh,
parang like I'm sure with, because I knew Tito Anib, and he was always like, as you know, as joyful as my father when he was with people. Whatever torment it is they have inside them, lalabas nilang talaga sa art, 'di ba? They wouldn't even put it on us children, or you know, maybe the wives a little bit. But on the children itself, I think that they would express a lot of that so that you could see how they felt. I think, you know, I think your dad was like that in a way, wouldn't you think?
yeah, that's true. And sometimes isn't it that uh, our natural our natural resort as well if we're having problems is that we use humor. So perhaps, but we didn't feel so much. He wouldn't share his problems, but I guess through humor you will find, if I were old now and if he's alive, I will be able to discern if
Yeah.
he's having problems like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I
I also want to make a comment, no? Filipinos are supposed to be a happy people, no? In general, you know, when there are surveys of people in the world, Filipinos always come out on top as the happiest people in the world. But actually, I think many Filipinos are happy externally, but you know, inside, you know, it's possible that they're weeping.
True.
And I think that's the inner torment that Onib used to capture in his paintings. That's why, you know, many people found his paintings disturbing, because probably uh, he was showing the inner demons of people, what what they were feeling inside, but never actually showed outside
Yeah.
externally.
I think that's true. That's why I think the hits of music in the Philippines are extreme love songs, you know, kasi palaging masakit. Diba? It's like they're always in pain from love, and you know, I think that's why melodrama and the teleserye in the Philippines really reflects what a lot of the Filipinos live by. Like they look for that sometimes, and you know, I think it's
but
just a
that's
really
so
nice.
true. That's so true. But there's also parang a redeeming factor in dad's art. I believe I'm sure you'll agree, right, Romina, that
Sure, yeah.
there's the triumph inside that shows. I mean, there's a victory in the in the images. I mean, if you
Definitely.
look at it really, like, yeah, it's not, it's the triumph of the human spirit still is
Always
seen.
evident. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very evident. Super
Yes.
evident.
Yeah, actually, that's why he has a message of hope.
Yeah.
The message he's trying to convey in his paintings is the human spirit will always prevail, no matter what the challenges are. First, I would like to say hello, Ding.
Hello.
Can you see me? Hi, Ding. Yeah, I'm so happy that you agreed to be a major speaker in this forum. I'd like you to know that Dean Roces is the ninong of my daughter, Bambi. And, you know, Ding was the mentor of my husband, Onib. they used to go first with the Tasa de Oro group. Even before the Saturday group, there was the Tasa de Oro group. They used to meet in Rojas Boulevard, Tasa de Oro, and it is said that they were united by their common denominator. The three founders of the Tasa de Oro group, they all love roast beef sandwiches. Is that correct, Ding? Is that correct? That's what I read actually in the papers. And Ding and Onib were actually very close. I remember Onib used to bring us to the house of the mommy of the mother of Ding in Pasay, and he would play basketball with with um, with Ding and other artists on Saturday. And then the mother of Ding would serve us binataang munggo. It was so delicious. And then I have a funny story regarding that. Once we also brought our daughter Bambi, who's right here beside me now. She was then only around 6 years old. Now Bambi always had a security blanket with her. But in her case, it wasn't a blanket. It was the forro. The forro is the inner pillowcase. So wherever we would go, she would be bringing that along. Instead of sucking her thumb, that was her security blanket. So that night, when we went to Bing's house, after playing basketball, Onib and I brought Bambi home already. And then Bambi couldn't sleep that night because her security blanket, she had kept it she had left it in the house of Ding. So, Onib was such a good father that all the way from Sampaloc, we went back all the way to Pasay just to get that security blanket. That's the way Onib was as a father.
That's a wonderful story, Bettina, Miss Bettina. Remember earlier I was saying a lot of us hold on to things to keep us safe, to make us feel safe. So that pillowcase was Bettina's. And I said, I think every parent has experienced going back somewhere when a child has left either a teddy bear, a doll, or a blanket. And I think that's what I was saying because as we get older, Bambi, hindi na kasi cute yung dala mo yung blanket hanggang ngayon eh. So, hindi na rin tayo pwede mag-suck ng thumb or mag-bite ng nails. So, what happened? This is why I want you to know the exhale. Kasi wherever you are, you have your breath. And I have a feeling a lot of us have compulsion to what they call vices, but I think they're just compulsion to reactions like smoking, etc. A lot of it is soothing. It's because we can't suck our thumbs anymore. Bawat kasi hindi naman nice yan for adults. But when we were children, automatic. You bite your pillowcase, you bite the edge of the blanket, right? But when we're older, let's say adolescent, minsan it's bite your nails. You bite the edge. The minute you're nervous, ganyan agad. Kasi meron comforting, soothing yun eh. There's something in your mouth. So, I have a feeling as we get older, and maybe if you're in a situation where you really can't bite your nails, or it's not because you have to carry yourself a certain way because it's expected, this is where your breath can come in. And we're not all as empathic as Onib, who seemed to handle his empathy so well. Because as Alfredo Roces said, I think his melancholy went somewhere. So he handled it so well. Parang it went towards his art. And I think just his life alone is actually a testament to art therapy. I have a feeling because he was able to draw sad pictures, for lack of a better word. He was capable of being funny. I think that's art therapy. Because art therapy is to teach us how to mentally regulate by balancing the sad and the happy parts of us so that we can do both. Bambi, is it Bambi, the one that's here with us? I can see that you're leaning towards the video. Do you want to say something?
What? No, I was just listening. Thanks.
I forgot to say something about Ding, no? Because I said that Ding Roces was actually the mentor of my husband. I remember my husband approached Ding and asked him, I'm planning to take for a formal fine arts course because I really want. I've really decided to make art my how do you call this, my vocation, no, in life. And then Ding, like other artists also, even HR Ocampo, they told Onib, no, don't take don't take a fine arts course. It might, hamper your creativity. Just just hang around with us and you will learn so much more. So that was the start of the Saturday group actually. They're hanging out, just exchanging ideas with these great minds like Ding Roces and HR Ocampo. That was more than a fine arts course.
Absolutely, absolutely, Miss Bettina. Do you know that well, I had a chance to be mentored by Lawrence Ferlinghetti. He recently died. He's a poet from San Francisco, and he used
On
to
the
always
island
tell,
of the mind.
yes,
On the island of the
yes.
mind.
His daughter-in-law is Filipina, at least in the 90s. I don't know if they're still together. So he took to me like parang ako yung utosan niya sa class. And he used to say to me, gang, if you want to be a poet, you have to be a bartender. So I think that's the same thing that Ding Roses was advising Onib. Like, no, don't study formal fine art. You're already approaching this with your own voice, with your own sets of feelings and traumas and vision. So somebody might hamper and limit your movement if you show up. But I think that's the distinct style of Onib Olmedo. No, hindi what they call hindi aral, because aralis, by the way, that's a wrong word. Hindi regimented. Ano tawag? Hindi contrived. Parang ganon. Ang galing nga eh. Ang galing ng advice na yon, Sir Rosses. That's genius advice.
I think we should concentrate on Onib as a collective, not just an individual, because Onib's way of painting is also shared by other painters like him. So it's more of the Onib that is a collective, rather than the fractal of Onib. We should concentrate more on Onib as a symbol of all these artists who are painting this style.
Yeah.
Diba?
Yeah.
Because we're going into trivia already. We're going to, it's as if we're nominating him for national artist already. I think because your theme is about art and therapy somehow, and how Onib is a part of it. But it's Onib also as a collective. Onib as part of the other painters who are painting like him. I think that's the full point. I don't know. That's how I feel.
Yeah, actually, there was a tribute to Onib Olmedo when he had passed away. It was a posthumous, it was an exhibit of the artists who were inspired by him. They were self-confessed.
Dapat holistic yung ating view of Onib.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who is also like other guys painting,
That's a wonder. I like that, Sir Pandy. That's Onib, parang spirit of the general direction of Onib.
Exactly.
Rather than the individual.
Yeah, as a archetypal artist.
Icon talaga, movement. So parang ISM, parang Onibism, ganon? Ganon ba yan?
Something like that.
Yeah. No, why not? Yeah. But yesterday though, I must admit, one of the things that made it enchanting for me was that I heard stories of Onib the individual to make the ism and the larger movement so real. That's what I like.
Yeah, but
you're right. We must go the general direction of the influence and imprint he left on so many other young artists.
Actually, what we're trying to do here is it's like a visual what do you call that?
Ano yan?
spirit of the glass.
Seance?
But yeah, a seance. So much so that we want to feel his spirit here in front of us.
I think that's
Awesome.
because you are directly intimate with him as friends. Because if we were talking about an artist that had no connection to any of us in this lifetime, it would go differently. But I think because we have the wife and the daughter, and that he's so attached to us intimately, if it becomes that, because we're trying to recall his
Right.
essence. But if we were talking
Essence,
about an
his
artist
life.
like Edward Monk, we wouldn't be doing this. We would be trying to dig deeper and deeper into who we think he is, because we wouldn't have had any inkling of who he was personally or psychologically.
Actually,
And we
we're
were only
connecting
left with his
dots.
art.
We are
Exactly.
connecting dots between
Exactly.
other artists and him. And
But
him
not
as
only, also people
as a
that were
start.
intimate with him. Also
Right,
people
right.
that were intimate with
Exactly.
him. So this is actually the richness of this talk, is because each one here, a lot of people here had some kind of connection with
Experience
him,
with him.
and not
Yeah.
exactly. So I think that apart from it being feeling like a seance, it's very hard not to keep Onib Olmedo as a personal feeling for us, because it's very hard just to talk of his
That's
art.
why I keep quiet whenever I'm asked, what's your experience with Onib? And
But
I
it's your character. You
I
don't
think
miss
I want
yourself.
Bye.
I think I want Sir Pandy to be my college friend because he keeps secrets magnificently.
Yeah,
Diplomatic
keep a
ka
secret,
talaga,
yeah.
Tito Pandy.
I love it. Okay.
The secret is safe with me.
I wonder
sure.
if there are some people. I think Natalie was raising her hand, or there was another. Babette Lolarga, would you mind if I ask you to join? I will make you join us. Okay. I will add you to the spotlight because I think you have some sharing. Oh, hi. You have an anecdote. Would you like to share with us about coffee filters and socks? Para for the record, kasi we're recording this for uploading at the Galleria Duemila site. And sayang na nasa chat lang. So maybe you'd like to share it? I'll ask you to unmute now. Kindly click.
I wanted to share an Onib anecdote and a drawing by him. But first, the drawing. Help, Tatay. Tatay. Hope you can see it. It's a pencil drawing or of Ermita.
Wow.
I think it's called Midnight in an Ermita Beer Garden. Sayang hindi makapture ng zoom rectangle. There's a foreigner at the foreground. So it might have been that pensione. Midnight at Rose Garden in Ermita. That's the title of Onib. We have the others are downstairs and they're a bit heavy. It's my husband and Onib who established a friendship. And Bettina and Onib were very pleased with the diligence of my husband in paying the monthly installments for the Onib works. We concentrated on works by people like Onib, Ang Kyukok in our collection, and not the pretty. We have some pretty stuff, but majority are from the expressionist style. Because we wanted to be reminded of the human condition. We are both journalists and we witnessed a lot of violence and the like, including friends who got through so much trauma. Anyway, just a light Onib anecdote I wanted to share. He used to hang out now and then at the Hiraya Gallery on United Nations Avenue, Ermita. He would go there to play chess with the curator Bobby Valenzuela or the writer Mauro Avena and enjoy the unlimited coffee. One time, the coffee filters ran out, and and Bobby, the host, was apologetic. Sorry, we can't serve you coffee today, Onib. And then Onib, with a straight face, said, "That shouldn't be a problem. With me, I just use my sock." Yun. That's my sharing. Thank you.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. When we posted yesterday, Romina and Silvana, so many people, about 3 or 4 people sent me their portraits by Onib, and I'm trying to share everything now. Are you curious to see it? Is it okay if I share it now? Okay. This one is um Sandra. I think Sandra's actually here in the Zoom. Are you here? Just say hi. And then she said, I believe. Ah, he's there. Go. You want to share the story of your portrait?
Okay. So I used to go drawing with Onib with the Saturday group, and then sometimes we would go to Odette Alcantara's house on a weekend. And I think Tito Ding Roces was also there a few times with Sinagas Albor. Anyway, one time after one of the sessions, we ended up in Saisaki to have a quick dinner with some people from the Saturday group, and as usual, he got bored with the conversation and just grabbed his sketch pad and started drawing. And then before I knew it, he tore out the page and gave it to me and said, "Oh, ito, may toyo ka sa ulo." He actually did it with ball pen and shaded it with toyo. So it looked like a sepia watercolor painting. Really cool. So he did it siguro for mga 5 of us. And then that's it. He just gave it away and that's it.
Oh, wow. I love how Onib seems to be made of placa, toyo, license plate, medyas. I love the texture. I've never even met him, but he's sounds like a wonderful guy. This is another one sent to me yesterday by a common friend of ours, Jay Lazada. So he sketched him in 1990 when we were in college. I was too shy to ask for a portrait at the time. I should have been braver, but this is the day we had Onib Olmedo in our class in fine arts, and he sketched Jay Lazada. And another one is by with Leo Abaya also. What I think there's a question, pero medyo academic yung question, Ma'am Bettina. Is that all right? What made Onib shift from architecture to visual arts? Was there a turning point for him? Was it an event or something?
Yeah, actually, um, his decision to change his career path was brought about by a reaction to the rigid formality of architecture. So he really wanted to break loose from that rigidity. And so he felt that he could best express his creativity through the visual arts. And, it's like it was so providential that at the time that he closed, his partner in the architectural office went to the States, you see. And then his partner had seen many drawings of Onib in their drawer in the office where they used to have their architectural firm. He brought it with him to the States, and then he sent back Onib a set of oils because he felt that Onib was really talented. And actually, that was the confluence of events that put Onib on a new career path to in the visual arts. So his career in the visual arts was actually a reaction to the formal rigidity of of his architectural career.
I guess it was his pitch at freedom, which as I would like to follow the general guide of Sir Pandy Aviado, which I think a lot of the artists that generally follow the school of where Onib was going is that they break away from the rigidities and the rules. I love that Sir Ding Roces mentioned earlier that there were always rules to break.
Yeah.
And I think Sir Onib broke them beautifully. Sir Pandy, am I right?
It's a pity. It's a pity we didn't invite any of these painters that were influenced by him, because it would be nice to hear feedback from them. What made them paint that way, or how did they see Onib? Because I think they were about 20 years apart.
Yeah.
I did invite Borlonga.
Yeah, what happened to Amom?
He was busy.
So am I.
Yeah, and I invited also Tiny, he was busy. He did
Yeah.
not- so,
Manny Garibay.
yeah.
And
I
what
could
about
not,
Doc Kwanan? Because
very-
Doc Kwanan could also, be the resource person. Because we want also to know the impact of Onib through the eyes of these young painters that imbibe his spirit. I think that's very important part, which is probably missing here, because we're
Yes.
all talking because we know him. But what about the next generation?
There there's a lot of impression that Onib paints a lot that has to do with pain, and some associate him with famous artists worldwide who sometimes paint or show images that have strong social or political impact. And I don't think the art of Onib focus on such things. His would be closer to Munch, as you say, the famous Scream. So he had more personal look. But while we talk of his pain and all that, I think there was also a slight mischief in his work. And that's why Konting Suka would say. Or as you say, he would paint a portrait with Toyo. Because I think he would like to have that slight teasing, needling you a bit, in his work. And that's what makes him somewhat unique. Because there's pain there, but yes, it's a little funny. Or yes, but it's human. We don't see it as pure pain, period.
I think he's also an alchemist, because
Yeah.
he takes from lead and makes it into gold.
Yeah.
Like the macabre could be the lead, and then there's a change, there's a magic that only puts, and then it turns into gold.
I tell you a story of Onib that there was a time, there was a lot of articles about the pedophiles in the Philippines. And if you see among the painting that we showed before, there was a painting of a pedophile. And next to the pedophile, he was in the gallery, and my son Marco was there. And he said, Marco, can you draw a baby? Can you draw a child? Here, where I painted these pictures. So Marco drew the picture. And then Onib said, why did you make the line, with the socks? And Marco said, well, I wear a socks. Everybody wears socks. And now the Onib said, no. He said, the pure children don't wear any socks. So that was one of the, the story of Onib. And then also, if you saw, there is a group of children there that are being eaten by rat.
Can we see that? Do we have that in a slide, Natalie? And where did
It
that
was-
come from, Silvana?
Yeah, I saw it that they show it there. In Pasay City, there was really a lot of trash. Maybe Dean remember, in front of the street where I live, there was really a lot of trash. And we have near our house a lot of, here, this one, this painting, got this drawing, another one also. You see the child is surrounded by, here, the child is also eaten by rat. So we were talking about the problem that Pasay City had, and we wanted to make poster and put it all over the roads. How, so Oni drew this drawing, and to bring forward to the mayor the problem of the trash, of how children were affected, especially, you know, the people that lives in very, very poverty, in boxes, things like that. So this is one of his comment that we blew up. Actually, we made it bigger, and then they cleaned the streets. They cleaned the street because of his intervention. Yeah. And these were never shown before. I don't know if he can show you the one of the pedophile. There is also the drawer of the pedophile that is still with me, that he made it just while we were talking about pedophiles. So, so depending on the subject that you talk about, you know, as you say many times, you will just take the pencil and draw what he sees. Yeah.
Those are difficult, painful things to look at, right? But he looked at them, I guess, for us, because he knew that majority of us will not have the intestinal fortitude to look at really difficult, painful things. And I think that's one of the things that Onib Olmedo offers the Philippines, and the movement of all, sila Emong, sila Manny Garibay, etc. They really make us look at things that we wouldn't otherwise look at, because it's too painful to look
Yeah,
at.
but not so strong as impressionists.
Yeah.
Not so strong like Onib did. They are much gentler.
Yeah.
The color much gentler, the form. So the people are not so aghast, are not so impressed and scared, like Pandit say, oh, you know, Borongan is bought by thousands and thousands of people. And Onib, actually, I think the career of Onib, when he started, people started really to like his work, is when he started also his subject through his daughter that were ballerina, and through the dancer, his perspective were becoming lighter and kinder. It was not so anymore, his color were not anymore dark. Although there was an earlier period when he was in the races, that he has beautiful, where his color also were very dark. So
Well,
he by period.
we shouldn't compare, because first of all, these are all fine arts students, and Onib never studied fine arts.
Yes,
So
yes.
maybe they were already, their outlook is much more the fine arts school type of outlook, while Onib is fresher, you know, because he's unschooled. His thing is much more bold, much more direct.
Yes, yes, that's what I wanted to say. It's really very direct. It's very strong. That's what I love about it. It takes you in the...
Sorry.
Go ahead, Sir Ding. Were you going to say something? Go ahead.
Well, you could also look at all this from the way he uses the medium, the material. Only we all have to start with traditional material like charcoal and so on, but he gives it a certain type of flavor that is his personality and his own way of expressing things. And the best example of this was when he started to use ink,
Yes.
because normally you would use ink and you put it on top of white, but he would pour the ink and then wipe out the image. with
What kind of
color.
ink is this? Is it printer's ink? Is it
Toyo, yeah.
India ink? Is
No,
it Chinese
Toyo
ink?
ink. Toyo ink. It was the ink that Ramon used to give him.
So it's
Ramon
oil
used to
based.
import.
Yeah,
It
it's
is for printing, for printing.
yeah, that's what I thought. Because there's a difference between oil, printing ink, and then India ink or Chinese ink, acrylic.
Ramon Good used to give him the ink of Toyo Ink, a Japanese company that used to import because his father had printing press.
And then I remember those felt papers.
No,
I think
no.
most of them deteriorated.
The felt paper, he bought it from National Bookstore.
Yeah, because this is a poor quality of felt paper.
This is the one. That is the one of of Lasing. This is the boy, but it's too shiny. You cannot hardly see it.
Yeah. Ang coincidental naman, Silvana, na yung brand ng ink Toyo rin.
Yeah.
Toyo. Yeah.
Puro Toyo tsaka Suka.
It's a Japanese brand.
Yeah, Japanese
I love the Toyo and the Suka. We are 18 minutes to the hour. We're about to end, and I think Sir Pandy is onto something when he said we must have the other artists. Maybe we can do that another time since we learned that we can, right, Romina?
Yeah.
So I think we can maybe when we close the exhibit or something. So
because we have to look at it on more holistic.
Absolutely.
Picture of Onib. Onib, not just the person, but the painter who paints like these guys, So he's a larger Onib now.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's now an ism.
Exactly.
Isn't that great? He's now an ism, Onibism. I used to say that.
Ism than an influencer.
We used to say that when you try to find your there, okay.
This is the painting.
Of the lakas naman nitong painting na to.
It looks like a bulul.
Yeah,
it looks like an ifuga bulul.
Yeah. Grabe naman to si Onib Olmedo. Sumasakit yung dibdib ko.
The little boy is the one that he asked Marco to draw. And he put the socks. Can you see the socks? Long pantalon and socks. And he drew very, very, very strong. Because we were reading at the time about Pasanghang and so and so. And that's what he drew. Yeah. Of course, nobody wanted to buy that. Actually, I show it before to some people, but too strong for many to accept. Well, maybe one in museum could get that.
I have a question to ask. Does anybody know if Onib underwent corporal punishment when he was young? Did anybody hit him? Was he bullied? Was
I would imagine Miss
verbally
Bettina
abused?
will have the answer. Go ahead, Miss Bettina. I think that's your.
Yeah. No, actually, they had a very closely knit family, but Onib was number 5 in the family, and the one who preceded him was a guy. So there was nobody that he could really confide in. The one after him was a girl. So sometimes he would go off to the beach all by himself when he was a teenager. And then when he would commune with nature, that's the time he would reflect on deeper things like the purpose in life, the meaning of existence. So Onib was basically a loner when he was a teenager, And that's why he was so extremely shy. The first time you meet him, he wouldn't say anything. He was a man of few words. But over the years, he gained self-confidence because of, he was able to succeed in his chosen field. And so he gained a lot of self-confidence. And that's the time the real Onib surfaced, the funny man, the guy with a sense of humor. But when he was a teenager, he had what you would call probably teenage angst, no? He would go off all by himself to the beach.
With a can of pork and beans.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah, he eats straight from
Did he belong to
can of
any?
pork and beans.
Did he belong to any gang or teenage gangs or
No, no, no. But
something? Was he violent when he was young? Was
no,
he
no,
into girls or bugbugan? Because
no, not
it was very common then during that time. People wearing with their nuts in front of their shirt and acting tough.
Not that.
Was he?
He's not the kind.
He's
no,
not. He
no,
was
he
the
was,
gentleman. He was.
yes.
He was always.
Sir Pandy,
Yeah.
that's a very mental health question. Like, I wonder.
Exactly. That's why I brought it up.
You asked if I wonder if something happened. Was there corporal punishment in the house? Napalo ba siya, etc.
Because this was very common during that
Oh
time.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think
corporal punishment was
high level of
and
Filipinos.
that's why there were a lot of violent people then. The lowest gang, the sige gang.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are part of the underworld.
No, no, no.
I think Miss Bettina was saying something earlier na parang she never saw him as part of a gang or violent. And I have a feeling that's possible because parang all the rage went to the paintings.
I think he's very street smart, and to be street smart, you have to be, you have to experience all this. I think.
Alam mo, Sir Brandy, naisip ko yun. I think Sanggano lang ang magbibigay ng title na Singkong Suka sa exhibit. Eh.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because the reason behind is because he grew up in Sampaloc, Manila, where
that's
really,
a very
but their family, our grandparents never really or how do you call that, make corporal punishment, walang ganon. But you see, he had best friends.
Corporal
was
punishment
like,
can also be from the school.
Yeah.
School
But,
also, teachers.
Let me tell you about his schooling in elementary. He went to Albert Elementary School.
Yeah.
It's a nearby school in Sampaloc.
Yeah.
And then, what would happen? Sometimes his homework was incomplete, things like that.
Right.
And then the teacher, the teacher would not give him corporal punishment, but the teacher would tell him to bring his father to school. You know what Onib would do? He would get their driver and bring him to school and present him to the teacher.
Right.
He would say that's his father. Yeah.
Because when I was in school, whenever I would be drawing during lectures, the teacher would always call my attention. And several times they would hit my palm.
Yeah.
Abiado, drawing again, huh?
Oh, he would too.
Yeah.
That's when I discovered, hey, I got a talent. And that art is subversive for me. For me, art is subversive. I have to do it secretly.
Yeah,
Or else I'll
wow.
be banished.
If I may, because we have a few minutes left of the hour, I discussed anxiety earlier, right? And it really comes from childhood trauma, whether you remember it or not. And I really want everybody to know that a lot of trauma happens in secret. We don't see it. Hindi na dyaryo. It's too hurtful and painful to share. So we really don't know what everybody went through. And I think it's a very valid question that you asked, because someone with such empath, you wonder what he saw, you wonder what he felt. Not so much that it's him, but he's, like Silvana says, he's an observer. Onib must have seen things because, all of us are aware that there are pedophiles in Malate. All of us have read the burst into the scene of the early 80s yan eh. yung ang daming balita sa pagsanhan, and but it was such an ugly truth, such an ugly truth, such a painful truth, especially
And
when
Smoky Mountain. Smoky Mountain.
especially Sir Pandi, that we're so hospitable to tourists, and it's something
Yeah.
we're proud of. And then
there
it's
was
the dark-
porn comics.
yeah,
Comics na porn. And also Bomba comics. Bomba films.
yeah, exactly. Yung whole genre na yon.
And there was a festival of porn movies at the at Amy Marcos's experimental, where hundreds got killed because of the construction.
I think we should have the Gen Zs Google that today. Google the construction of the film festival. I think Barbara's raising her hand. Am I right? Barbara,
I'm sorry, gang. I couldn't pass the opportunity to say that I was a bit offended when you said saan gano'n lang ang makakapagbigay ng title na singkong suka, no?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think we have to for example, if I paint murder or if I paint something that's very unhappy, it doesn't mean that I'm a murderer or unhappy. We have to be clear that you're painting the human condition, but it doesn't mean that you're doing it yourself. The evil thing that you see, you put on canvas, it doesn't mean that you're the perpetrator of that.
Yes. Thank you for that.
I mean, we have to be clear. Just because we're talking about psychology, it doesn't mean that why do we have to be so confused about these things? It's so easy.
Onib is just an instrument.
Thank you for pointing that out. Thank you. I really appreciate it. You're right. It was me surmising that. I wonder where that come from, because we don't have an answer to Pandy's.
No, because you're so gang-ho about madness. But when you paint madness, it doesn't mean you're mad.
100%. I agree with you, ma'am. You're right.
No, I mean, there's such a thing as objectivity and subjectivity, of course.
Yes.
Diba?
Yes.
Like for example, if I talk against fascism, or if he painted the pedophile, it doesn't mean that he's a pedophile.
No. I was about to finish.
I mean, let's be clear, kasi naguguluhan na yung.
Yeah. May I? Because Sir Pandy interrupted me when I was finishing the observation on the pedophile painting. A lot of times, it's too painful to look at, but Onib for some reason had the intestinal fortitude to look at it and paint it.
Yes, but if you talk about
it doesn't mean he's for it.
Yeah, but let me explain that if you talk about the evil things that men do, you write about it so graphically, it doesn't mean that you are evil. Because it could also mean you can see what is the opposite of evil.
Yes.
Diba?
Yes. Opo. You're right. Thank you for that clarification. I
really painted that painting in front of me in the gallery because we were really reading an article about Pasanghang and what was happening.
Yes. Because
actually, it's like a form of protest. I think it's a way of protesting.
Yes, because we were very animated. We were ready with other people.
Yes.
That happened. How can do family allow that? All of these things. And the same thing when we saw all the trash.
Yeah.
And that was a protest. We wanted to make tarpaulin. Now and put it all over part of the city. So to make the mayor, to shock the mayor and to shock the people and to say, look, when you throw the trash, look what will happen to your children. There is rat all over. So there were only arguments that we were very active speaking in that moments.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely. Ma'am Barbara, thank you so much for doing that clarification. You're correct. I think what we really want to emphasize is the capacity of Onib to observe. And you are right. It doesn't matter what you express. In fact, I don't think it's a reflection of him at all. It's a reflection of him as an empathic observer.
Or I mean, we keep on looking for the things that maybe he was punished. This happened to him.
Oh yeah, there was no answer to it, si Pan.
No.
Yeah.
Hindi, kasi I'm curious. I just want to ask Ding because he said the first thing he talked about his portrait was that it was Onib's psychology more than my psychology. I mean, that was the essence of what I got from what he said, Ding. And I want to find out if you're saying that your painting, the painting, Onib's painting of your portrait is more of the psychology of Onib, more than your psychology. I want to get a clarification
Sir
from
Ding,
you.
would you like to explain that? Because I think it was, yeah, it was part of what you explained earlier.
What I'm trying to express there is the dilemma. I'm raising the question of whether what he has painted is myself or himself. And I have pointed out afterwards, aside from that, there's the third person who sees it, which could be also myself at this time, and saying, is that what that person is what I see in that person? So there is this problem of interpreting the image from one point. Is that the person that the artist has seen that he is bringing out? Or is it the artist's personality or anxiety that he has put into the work? I don't have an answer to that, nor do I say it's one or the other, especially in the case of my own portrait that he has done. I can see something of myself, but I certainly see a lot of Onib in it too. And that's the dilemma. I think it's on every painting, it will be the same way. Every portrait that you see that he has done, how much of it is the person he has brought out, and how much of it is of Onib that he has put into that person.
I think,
Yeah.
Sir Ding,
That's very interesting because actually Onib did a portrait of me, you know, and I want to show it, but it's not because it's Onib that, of course, I like the painting. But the funny thing was, it was I was a journalist. I mean, I'm still a journalist, and I was interviewing him. But when I showed it to my husband, he didn't like the painting. And actually, I kept the painting. I asked a friend of mine to keep the painting, Joel Vega. He's now in the Netherlands, but I was able to get the painting. My husband died 2017, and then I resurrected the painting, and I showed it to some friends. And Julie Luke, a sculptor, said, "It's the happiest painting I ever saw of Onib, from Onib's painting." So
Wow.
I was really shocked because that painting, I kept it like nakatago, nakabaliktad, no? And then I asked a friend to keep it because I never showed it in the house. I never posted it. And then all of a sudden, my friend said, "It's the happiest painting ever of Onib." So I want to show it to you. But I don't know, it's a bit shocking, no? Kasi parang like what Ding said, it's more of Onib than you. But I think it's more of me than Onib, and he was able to capture it. But the funny thing is my husband couldn't look at it.
Barbara, we love to see it. What a privilege to see it. How wonderful that you have it. Well, it is the happiest on him. Ang ganda.
Yeah. And I'm so shocked. No, actually, I showed this to Bambi, I think 2 years ago, and she promised to give like a provenance, something like that. Pero now it's kamukha ko ba? Parang ako ba? That's why I was so curious. Yeah, and then I was so curious when Ding said it's more his painting of Ding. Onib's painting of Ding is more Onib than Ding.
Miss Barbara, that's a wonderful testament to your smile. Because he saw it, you know, as opposed to seeing
Pero lalaki ng ngipin. No? Maybe, I don't know why my husband,
No,
but
it's
my
great
husband couldn't
smile.
look at the painting for 20 years.
Wow. I wonder why your husband didn't like it. What did he say? It looked sad or it didn't look like you?
No, he never explained, and I never asked. Okay. But I have a painting of him, and ito siya, for you to get an idea.
Wow, this is so interesting.
You think he could do work as a cartographer, police
This is a
cartographer?
portrait of my husband, but not done by Onib, no? By one of the artists sa Liwayway when my husband was associate editor of Fu magazine. So this is the kind of, this is my husband. So I don't know, but ayaw na yung painting.
That's
And
awesome.
I think I told Bettina about this before.
Thank you, Miss Barbara, for sharing. It's now 4 o'clock. May I ask everybody to share their last insights for the afternoon? We'll start first with Sir Pandy and then Miss Silvana.
Thank
Go
you
ahead.
very much for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to share my little knowledge of Onib. I hope we'll
Ayaw
have.
magkwento.
Well, some things should be kept secret because that's my Onib, and I don't want to share it with you. Sorry.
I get your number. I get your number.
You naughty boy.
Thank you.
Yana will moderate, and I think we would like Ma'am Barbara, thank you so much for sharing the portraits, and I appreciate your strong opinion on how I should be more careful. I wasn't done explaining yet when Pandy interrupted me.
Hindi ako makapigil.
Oh, but that's good. That's good. That means you felt safe to share it, and I really appreciate it. Don't worry, this is not a debate. This is a conversation, and I really like.
We're friends. Our friends.
No, yeah, great. Thank you so much, ma'am. I really appreciate your what's the word? I really appreciate that you trusted the space.
Clarification lang.
Yes, absolutely. Salamat. Yana, maybe you can ask everybody to share. I'm up. Well, I was gonna apologize, but I usually take over the moderation of this. But Yana is actually the real moderator. So maybe Yana can do one round for everyone.
It's all right. Would anybody like to have any last statements before we close out the afternoon?
One comment.
Well, I think that what Pandy said, to have a wider picture of Onib and his how he has also
influenced others.
Maybe as soon as I get in contact with all of them, if they all agree, I would love to do another section of this Zoom talking. And so we will also look on it from other people's eyes, not only people that knows him by heart or by friendship, and they'll be very close to him. So there will be a different kind of view and much an outsider would of somebody who maybe never met him, but some met him. I know because they used to go in together with Odette Alcantara. They met him there, and Fernandez. So they used to meet them all the time. Yeah. So I want to thank you everybody who has joined Galleria Duemila in reviving Onib greatness and the memory of his art. Thank you.
May I just be allowed to give my own benteng suka?
Yes. Sure.
So I thank you for being allowed to do that. And our thanks to Silvana Diaz of Galleria Duemila for arranging this tribute to Onib via the Zoom. And to Gangbang Capati, the drama therapist, to my good friend and fellow artist, Candy Aviado, for yesterday's enlightening talking today. And salamat to Natalie Cruz for her patience in providing me with technical support and familiarizing me with this marvelous technology. Yana Garcia Projects, thank you. And of course, thank you to you all for sharing our thoughts and your time. Thank you.
Do you have anything, Bettina? I want to thank my daughter also, who has worked so hard for this. Bettina, you want to say some few words?
Yes, I would like to thank Dean Roces. We are so privileged to have you as the major speaker for this forum. And then I'd like you to know that it was my birthday on May 27. So this is like a birthday gift to me. And Silvana, thank you so much for putting together this forum. You know, as I told you, it seems to be so providential because of the timing. In my birthday, and then you put up this online exhibit. So actually, it's perfect timing. You must have been guided by the Holy Spirit.
Maybe
Because
Onib.
Pentecost
Onib.
Sunday, a
Only
few
on it.
days ago. Yeah, and Onib, yeah. Onib must be smiling down from heaven right now. Yeah. I'm sure he's in heaven.
Romina, would you like to say, maybe Bambi, sorry, Bambi?
On behalf of our family, we'd also like to thank you. We have learned so much input right now about mental health. Actually, it was so rich. We really, really got so many things that you cannot just I understand myself better because of that.
Oh,
And I thank
wow.
you that you have. It was really like a thread. You were able to put everything together with Onib Olmedo art. Thank you so much as well. And thank you, Miss Tita Silvana. Thank you, Tito Ding. Thank you so much, Mr. Aviado, and Romina. Thanks so much.
Wow. Wow. It's never linear, and there's never one formula. And mental wellness is not about who's insane or not. Mental wellness is about all of us feeling everything, but we all have the capacity to either calm ourselves down or make ourselves more enthusiastic. So please imagine your mental wellness as a volume button. It's not an on-off switch. So go to it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. You have to picture yourself sliding up and down. Be really kind to yourself and really gentle to yourself. And I do appreciate the opportunity. Actually, it's my honor. I'm an art history major, and now I'm a psychotherapist. And what a privilege to connect Onib Olmedo's works into the younger generation, and how this is something that can teach you about life and about the multifacetedness of life, na talagang walang happy 365 24/7. Wala. Pero may dark things, may light things, and it's up to us to find that balance, and we work on it every day, and we really have to perfect it. So I think I really want, what a privilege to be with Galleria Duemila, where I interned 1,000 years ago. And thank you to Romina for meeting up with us. And this we actually came up with it. It's an honor to be with Ding Roces, Pandy Aviado, also a very great education. And actually, it's so cheerful to see Barbara's portrait. It was I want to see it again. I wanted to privately message you and say, wow, that Onib looks very different. You must have had a wonderful time drawing your portrait kasi it's a happy one. Tita Julie is so accurate in saying that's possibly the happiest Onib she has seen. And Yana, thanks for moderating, Natalie as well. If you want, we do have free sessions and you can come. I don't generally charge for mental wellness. So if you feel like you need to talk to someone, you may call. And I know we'll see if we can.
911.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the day. Yana would like to close it formally.
Sure. So to close our event this afternoon, I would just like to express my gratitude to our speakers, Sir Pandy, Sir Alfredo. Thank you for sharing your valuable insights and for giving us a glimpse of Mr. Olmedo, not just as an artist, but also as his friends and his colleagues. Thank you as well to Ms. Wang for our art decompression sessions and for connecting the theme of mental health, not just with Mr. Olmedo's works, but with its relevance today. Thank you as well to Mr. Olmedo's family, Ms. Bettina and Bambi, for being here and sharing with us all. I also want to express our thanks to Ms. Silvana and Ms. Romina for making this event possible, and as well to Natalie Cruz, who successfully planned and organized this whole two-day event. And finally, thank you so much to our participants this afternoon. We hope that you enjoyed the exhibit and the wonderful sharings from our speakers and guests today. For those of you who would like to revisit the physical exhibition at Galleria Duemila, please click the link sent in the chat box or in the invitation sent to your email to schedule your visit and for more details. The exhibit's going to run from May 29 to July 31, Tuesday to Friday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So on behalf of Galleria Duemila and Project Steady, thank you so much for joining us today. Keep safe, everyone, and have a good afternoon.
Hi, Martin. I see you. Martin of FEU. And everyone, thank you. Hi, Karen. Also, Tanyada. Thank you so much for attending. We're gonna hang up. We're not exiting too fast. So if you want to stay and still ask questions on the chat while the esteemed Ding Roces and the esteemed Pandi Aviado are still here, we can still talk.
I think Pam left.
But anyway,
Pandi left.
formally we closed the exhibit. Ma'am Bettina, Bambi, and Franjo, it was it's a privilege to see everyone. Ding Roces, Miss Dakanay, thank you so much, and Pandi as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody for coming.
Oh,
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Romina. Hi, Mansof. Are you here? I think I saw my sister somewhere.
Yang, thank you talaga. I can
Thank you, Romina. Sobrang ganda ng portrait ng Barbara. Sobrang, wow. Ano kaya? Ay, dito pa pala siya. Hi, ma'am. Ang ganda ng portrait. Parang feeling ko, ano kaya mood ni Mr. Olmedo nung day na yun?
Oh, that was before he died.
Oh, okay. So hindi pala siya early. Hindi pala siya early Olmedo. Wow.
Oh, hindi siya early Olmedo. Much. Pero ayaw ng husband ko nga.
Oh, that's so funny though. But kaya, actually, ang ganda nga eh.
Shocking. Can I have your number?
Of course. I want
Ano?
absolutely. And I make sure that not